Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Inland Empire Sports Talk. I'm here today with the athletic director from Loma Academy, Lucio. Lucio, thanks for being on the program.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
So, Lucio, tell the folks at home a little bit about your background as well as Loma Academy.
I've been athletic director, coaching, teacher now for almost 30 years. I've been at Loma Linda, just finishing up my 7th year. Having a great time.
So, for the folks that don't really know the academy system, they're used to a standard high school. So, Loma Linda is a private Adventist institution, K through 12, and talk a little bit about the difference between the private schools versus the public schools in the area.
I'm not real familiar with public schools, but the way we do things at Loma Linda is it is a K through 12 school. So we have pre-kindergarten, and then we have our elementary school area. Then we have our junior high, and then they come into the high school. So our hope is that they go through the whole 13 years with us at Loma Linda. But we'll welcome anybody who wants to join in at any time.
And you have much smaller classes than the public school system.
Our classes in the high school are approximately just above or below 100. So our total enrollment last year was about 450.
Okay. And you guys are obviously CIF, Southern Section, for all sports. Talk about the sports that you guys offer at Loma Linda.
Well, we currently offer volleyball, girls volleyball, and cross country in the fall. We also do a non-CIF sport, flag football, in the fall, and that's boys and girls. And then in the winter, we do soccer and basketball, JV and varsity, both genders. And in the spring, we do golf, badminton, softball, baseball, boys volleyball, and swim.
Okay. Now, it's interesting because the NAIA just came out with this week, or this last week now, that they are going to have flag football as a sport in the NAIA starting in 2021. So it'll be interesting to see how and if you'll have any recruiting coming your way, because you guys only play, 7 or 8 teams?
Yes.
In California, Arizona area for flag football?
There's not very many teams, and it's very Adventist, in fact. We go up north and play teams from Monterey, Lodi, Fresno, Modesto. Down here in Southern California, there's only about 5 teams. Mesa Grande, Woodcrest has joined us. Woodcrest, Orangewood, Escondido, San Diego, and Redlands Academy.
Okay. And you guys just went through a fairly major renovation of the facilities at Loma Linda. I know when I walked on campus in January, being away from it for several years, it was night and day difference.
Oh, it's beautiful now. Our main gym, the high school gym, they put about $2.5 million into it. The main thing is air conditioning. So that was the last building on campus that had no air conditioning. So you can imagine how comfortable it was in the fall and during the summer.
I remember.
Yeah, I in fact had 2 elderly people, spectators who were watching a couple summers ago, one of my volleyball tournaments that I put on in late July, passed out and found out it was about 108 degrees in the gym. So we no longer have that problem, but they also did a lot of other things. They put in a great sound system. They're utilizing the gym for different events like music, but we get to use it all the time, so it's nice.
Yeah, and you have brand new locker room facilities.
The locker room facilities are great. It was just awful in there prior to that. I don't think anything had been done since prior to you being there.
Now, you guys are also live streaming almost all of the basketball games and volleyball games,
We
correct?
have been live streaming quite a bit, yes.
So talk a little bit about the culture at Loma Linda. What do you guys try to instill in athletics?
Our athletic program is, we like to have a whole campus. So we want all our kids to be very well-rounded. We want them to be involved in everything. So we like to promote that athletics is as important as anything else, but not any less, not any more. So we get our time. Our coaches do the practice they need to. We're always striving for excellence. But there may be a week where the kids have a week of prayer, or they're at a Bible conference, or maybe they have to study for their, for instance, finals weeks. We adjust the schedule so that to make sure that education isn't tampered with, and the same thing goes for in all different directions: the spiritual, the physical, as well as the mental.
Yeah, I mean, I work with obviously Loma University as well, and their whole thing about making man whole is very evident through the entire system, from the hospital to the university to you, all the way down even through the children's center.
Yes.
Which has always been really inspiring for a lot of parents because, yes, education is important, athletics are important, but at the end of the day, it's one facet of a lifetime spent on this planet and trying to be a better human being.
Yeah, and we just want to be a part of making each student a better human being. We know that there's not a whole lot of kids that are going to make their livelihood in professional sports, so we want to be a part of helping them be the best person they can be.
So talk about, since you said that, a little bit of the success stories from Loma Linda Academy.
We have numerous kids who have gone on to play, especially recently, who have gone on to play Division I. We have Damari Webb. She's playing currently at UC Davis. We had a young lady, Kayla Redfield. She was at Grand Canyon University. We have some other kids, Morgan Hall, who's playing in Florida. And we currently have some students that they're again looked at. Quentin Webb is right now our star of the future. He's going to be a junior, and he's being talked to by some pretty big schools. But Quentin is one of the kids I'd like to talk to. He is just almost if I could draw out a perfect Loma Linda student, it would be Quentin. He's the nicest young man in the world, respectful, helpful, a good Christian young man. But he's 6'5" and he has an incredible jumping ability. And I don't know if you know this, but he won a dunking contest last year on national TV on Fox Sports. Yet still humble, extremely humble. And usually the problem with smaller schools, especially Adventist small schools, is as soon as a young person gets recognition, they want to leave and say, well, I'm too big for this place. Mm-hmm. And Quentin has never been that way. He's always said, this is where I went to kindergarten, this is where I'm going to graduate. So that to me is a success story, to keep a kid in who has the values, who's been taught the values, who's been taught what's important. He has good parents who have taught him, hey, it's not just about basketball, it's about life. And that to me is really neat.
Now, obviously, there's some challenges in the private school system. There's obviously, for the most part, all know the advantages for the smaller class size, more one-on-one personal time. Talk to me a little bit about the challenges of your league and how the private school side is a little bit different when it comes to athletics.
Oh, it's interesting you say that. I have a AD meeting in about an hour, and we've been talking about that. And so you look at our school in particular. So although we're a private school, and all the teams in my league, Ontario Christian, Woodcrest, Aquinas, Arrowhead Christian, down the line, they're all private schools. We face I think, a different challenge than most. One is we worship on Sabbath. Mm-hmm. A lot of the things that happen, travel ball, all the different things like that, they happen on Sabbath. So very few of our kids are exposed to that, nor do we attract kids who are part of that because they don't know about us. Mm-hmm. Plus, again, because we're well-rounded, we have difficulties in sometimes getting the kids to, they're focusing on their sport, their craft, for a lot shorter period of time than the kid at Ontario Christian or the kid at Aquinas, which, my coaches wish it was different, but we encourage them to do a lot of different things. But more than anything, it's also the tuition. So they're paying a high price for tuition. We do have tuition aid that is available to everybody. Mm-hmm. It's available to everybody. Where some schools, they have tuition help that's based more on what they contribute in different ways. So those are some of the challenges we have. And so we don't get a lot of kids who aren't Adventists. Mm-hmm. So most of our kids, we get our Adventists because it's a faith-based school, and parents want what we're teaching them with values and what we're teaching them with the Christian part of and the spiritual part of our school. We have a very strong spiritual school, and if you want to play baseball or softball or basketball, you don't want to pay $13,000 if that's your main focus, unless you're Adventist. Now, we have gotten a kid or two that has decided, hey, we like what you're doing, and we think it's valuable for our children have that spirituality, and they'll do that. So really everything's in house, which makes it important that we are teaching the kids all the things we're trying to teach, not only spiritually and academically, but athletically in kindergarten first. And that's our goal now. We're trying to get the kids at lower grades to teach them some of the things that we think are important, both in the actual sense of the specific sport, whether it's throwing, catching, or whatever. But we want to teach them what we feel is the Loma Linda way of doing things athletically.
Okay. Now, you still do coach at Loma Linda.
I do. I coach JV boys basketball right now.
So talk to us a little bit about your style of coaching.
Well, I am fortunate because I run the program. Mm-hmm. So the reason I coach is to stay in touch with the kids. I didn't start doing this so I could push papers and schedules and those kinds of things. I did this because I enjoy the young people. So my style of coaching, I coach with one of my really good friends, Joe. And Joe's more the tech. He's very technical. He knows that, don't forget number 13 likes to use his left hand and do this and do that. I'm more of a general guy. I like to teach, again, the culture of what we're trying to do, talking to them about why we're doing things, what's the important part of athletics. I do know basketball, so I can fix their shots and things like that, but I'm more interested in their minds, and that's my joy of coaching.
Excellent. So you've also talked about that you guys obviously want to start at the kindergarten level and work their way up. So I know you guys run a lot of camps and clinics during the summer for that goal specifically. Do you want to talk a little bit about the camps and clinics you guys run?
Yeah, we have been running now. This will be our second year. Well, we hope this is going to be our second year where we do Next Level. So Next Level is open to everybody. It's open to the community. We obviously can advertise at Loma Linda a little easier, but it's open to the community, and we are doing basically all the major sports. We have volleyball, soccer, baseball, softball, basketball, and flag football. And so we run a week camp, one week long. We go from 8 to 2 o'clock from Monday to Thursday. And we usually have, my head coaches are usually the ones who design the program, and they use a lot of their varsity players. And we use some alumni, and we, again, try to teach the kids the value of athletics while we're teaching them the skill, teaching them what it is, how that can help them as a person as they become part of, get older and older.
So what is the age?
So our age is 7 years old to approximately 13. So the grades we go is first grade through 8th grade, incoming, yeah.
And then, so are those all run at the same time? Are they different weekends?
No, they're run on different weekends. So this year, we're trying to move things later so that we can hopefully get through this.
Yeah.
So our first camp will be baseball, and that'll be it's June the 19th, I think. That Monday will be baseball, and then we go right after that. The week will be softball and soccer, and then after 4th of July, we will do, I believe, volleyball. Then we have volleyball. Then we have a gap, and then we do our big one is usually basketball, and that'll be August 3rd, the week of August 3rd.
Okay. So if the folks at home that are watching want to get more information, is there a website? Is there a Facebook page for them to go, or what's the best way?
They can go to the NLSP, which stands for the Next Level Sports Performance, the NLSP.com.
Okay. And we'll make sure that we put that in the hyperlink for this podcast as well.
Great.
So you talked a little bit about how you have your coaches always try to be involved as well in the community. Talk us through, because I don't think most people know, we all know that there's an athletic director at every school. We don't always know what they do. So talk to me about hiring coaches, retention of coaches, the culture of the coaching staff that you try to create.
Well, picking the right coaches and hiring coaches, I consider my most important job. There's nothing more important than picking the right coach for the job. And that can be different. Sometimes it depends on the students you have coming up. You might have a certain kind of students who needs a certain kind of coach. But the way what we do is we we'll put out that we need a coach for a different sport. They'll come in, we interview them, and we try. Then once I pick my coach, and I spend a lot of time talking to them. I do have a set of questions that I ask, but then it's just a matter of me sitting across the table like we are now and saying, "Hey, tell me about what you think about this," and just getting to know them, and making sure that we're on the same page. Because once it's all said and done, if we're on the same page, we may not agree with the way something's handled, but at least I can understand where you're coming from and we can talk. And the retention of coaches is actually pretty easy. If we're on the same page, I'm going to support you. I want you to be successful. And I want your success means my kids are going to have a better experience. And my whole goal is for my kids to have a great experience. I want my kids to have a great experience. I want them to learn what's important for them in the athletics. And I want them 20 years from now to say, man, I really enjoyed my time on the badminton team. That was great memories. Remember when we, because again, I've been doing this for 30 years and I've had a lot of success and I've had a lot of failures. And when you get all those kids in the room, the ones who won CIF titles and the ones who didn't win a game in the season, very few of them are saying, man, I remember winning that game and it made me feel good. They talk about how you made them feel as a coach. They talk about their experience on the van driving to games. They talk about a lot of things outside of winning or losing, which at the moment seems so important, and they are important. But so I need a coach who can create that culture. I have great coaches, absolute great coaches, and to promote my flag ball team, my flag ball coaches are great guys. They're all that nice age, 30 years old, so they're young still, and they can relate better than the kids than a 52-year-old guy like myself. But they know what's important. They know when it's time to push a kid. They know when it's time to hug a kid. They know when it's time to compliment. They know when it's time, and they just do a great job. And that's not something you teach. That's something that comes from within, and it comes from within when you care about a student, when you care about a student athlete, and that's what I'm looking for. Somebody who cares about the student athlete. If you know how to throw a curveball, that's great.
Yeah.
But I'd rather just keep throwing fastballs right down the middle if you're teaching the kid what's important.
So we talk a lot about different sports and when we are talking to our coaches, but one of the things I don't think we talk about is the misconceptions as much. So what misconceptions do you see as an athletic director of your coaches or the programs, and for you as well, that you think parents should hear?
I guess the biggest misconception or the biggest problem, my number one complaint that walks through my door is obviously playing time. And what I appreciate about the parent is it's your job as a parent to take care of your child. So you're coming into my office saying my kid should be playing more, and I'm glad that you're coming in to do that because that's your job, and I'm going to listen to you, and I'm going to hear what you're saying, and I'm going to write down things that I think are important. But at the end of the day, it's the coach's job to do what's best for 12 kids if he has a basketball team. It may be 25 kids if he has a soccer team, maybe even more. And so the misconception is always, well, you don't like my son or daughter, or you're not giving my son or daughter a chance. And that can be true at times. It's not true very often. That's a bad coach that we have to deal with. But most of the time, you're not at practice every single day. The parent is not at practice every single day for 2 hours. So by the time a parent sees a 1-hour game, there's been probably 60 hours of practice, maybe even more of that during the summer, possibly more times that the coaches have said, here's some extra time I'll give. So what the coach is basing this on is a lot more than what the parent is seeing. And again, parents don't see a lot of things that coaches see, whether it's things like attitude, things like energy, things like leadership, things like team. What kind of team things are they doing in practice? Are they dropping their shoulders every time the coach says we're doing something? Are they, those are the kinds of things that go into playing time. So when a parent comes into me and says, my kid needs more playing time, this is already in the back of my head. So it's going to be extremely difficult for you to tell me that the coach is wrong. I will listen, but I wish the parents knew that every coach wants to win. There's not a coach out there who says, I'm going to start this boy over this boy, even though he's better because I don't like him and I may lose the game. So every coach wants to win, plus they have all this other information that the parent doesn't have. So trust the coach. Trust the coach, and if they really think they're being it's unfair, have the player talk to the coach. That's going to go a lot further. When the player comes up, I mean, I coach, as I said, and I had players say to me, hey, coach, I want to play at the end of the game when it's crunch time. What do I need to do to play at the end of the game? This was last year, and I said, and I had to think about it. And I was like, well, the reason you're not at the end of the game, and I gave him 3 reasons, and he worked on it. And that's the best way to change the way a coach perceives you and plays you.
Very nice. Now, obviously, we are socially distancing right now. We're in the middle of a pandemic. And talk to me about all the changes that have happened since basically March 15th.
Well, as everybody knows, it's just crazy times. It's like a movie. And I obviously, at first we thought, cool, a couple weeks off. I don't mind that. But now as we move on, I start to wonder how this is going to affect, in any sport, that everybody's looking for the advantage. So I guess my question is, who's going to get the advantage now? Now that there's no summer, there's no travel teams, there's nothing. Who's going to be my coach? My head coach for basketball, Mark Wills, have been talking, and I know that we've struggled getting our kids, like I said, to come to summer stuff. And I thought, so does that make things more even now because nobody's playing this summer and our kids don't? I don't know. I know it's affecting us because we do a lot of summer things. So at Loma we run a basketball tournament, we run basketball leagues, we run volleyball leagues, and already I've changed a lot of those, so hopefully we can still run them. But I'm not sure exactly what we're going to be able to do, as none of us know what's going on.
Yeah. So obviously, with everything going on, are your coaches? Are you guys having your kids doing workouts at home? Are you posting on social media? Is there any technology that you guys are embracing with that?
Well, I know the spring sports, the coaches were sending things that they needed to have the kids do. So like my golf coach was sending out a weekly drill that he wanted them to do, and he was asking them to videotape, send it back. I believe my softball coach was doing a lot of the same. So there has been a lot of that going on with the coaches individually. I know in listening to our faculty meetings that the PE classes are having a hard time with some kids. Mm-hmm. And I can understand that. I can understand the kind of the, I have a struggle of wanting to get up and get going. There's times that once I sit down, I'm just like, okay, I wonder what's on Netflix, Mm-hmm. And these kids, they like video games and things. So I think that's going to be a struggle for a little bit. That's why I'm hoping to get them going, and hopefully this phase 3 will come through and we can start doing some more things.
Oh, I'm hoping for phase 3 so you and I can see each other at the gym again. Because, I have a full setup in my garage to work out, but my garage is 110 degrees by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Yes. But it's also just we're both very social. Right. Like just even seeing like-minded people and being around that culture, it's like, oh, okay, I work out probably twice as hard at the gym than I do in my garage alone. So I always find these really interesting how the coaches are trying to embrace that for their teams, because we all know teams are a family. Yep. But then now you're asking a kid to, okay, go do 500 jump ropes and 100 sit-ups and videotape it for me. Okay, it's 95 degrees outside, coach. It's not fun right now. Nobody's here.
Yep.
It's hard to inspire from afar.
Right.
I'm doing Zoom meetings every day with different coaches and reps and programs, but it's very different than when you and I sit in your office.
Right.
And it's like, hey, do you want to see this? Oh, what about this? And then we start playing with stuff because it's organic. It makes the conversation go better. So I find this time very interesting for a lot of coaches and how they're dealing with that in today's problematic pandemic.
Well, and how do you get the kid? All the parks are closed.
Yeah.
Or they just opened. But, to tell a soccer kid, what are you going to do, go in your backyard? And maybe they have a backyard. Maybe they don't have a big backyard. So there's a lot of limitations. Mm-hmm. Like I was watching Leo. He's my golf coach, and he was showing a video of a chipping. And he's like, go 20 yards away. I'm thinking, well, my backyard, I don't know if I have 20 yards in my backyard, so I guess I'm working on the shorter game.
I need to work on my short game. So I probably should look up that drill. So obviously your coaches all are missing their kids. You guys are as well. one last thing for everyone at home. What would you say or give them as a word of advice or hope during this time?
What I've been telling my coaches, I've been getting a lot of text messages from my coaches. Are we doing this? Are we doing this? Are we doing this? I said, listen, you know what? We're just going to keep preparing for the best. Hope for the best. I don't want to be surprised. Mm-hmm. So if tomorrow Governor Newsom says, okay, we're ready to go, we need to be ready to go. So I would say just continue to prepare for the best. And while we're doing that, there's a lot of positives that come from this. Like to me, the family time. When is the last time I drove to one of my other coaches' house to drop off something, and I thought it was Leave It to Beaver. I was driving down the street, Coach Sanford, and kids are riding their bikes. Parents are in the front yard.
You drove right past my house.
Grant Terrace?
Yeah, he and I lived together right next to.
Yeah, but I was driving down that long street before you make a left to his house, and I was just saying there was a beautiful day and people. When's the last time you saw that? I mean, you see joggers and you see the hardcores, but you don't see mom pushing a stroller and dad on a bike. So there's a lot of good things that are coming from that. Utilize this time, make it as positive as we can. Like for me, like I said, I can waste time pretty easily. I popped on my phone that Duolingo, and I'm learning French. Mm-hmm. I don't think I'm very good at it. But it's giving me 20 minutes a day of doing something different. Talk. I like that we're talking more. You're communicating more. My son is sitting while I'm cooking dinner. He's sitting at the table talking to me, and that hasn't happened in years. If ever. So utilize what could be considered negative to the best of to the best that we can make it, but prepare for the best, because at some time, it might be 2 months, a month, 6 weeks, 2 weeks that we're back and running in our rat race, and we got a little reprieve, and let's make the most of it.
Yeah, I know. I was talking to Brian Engel last week from CBU, and he was talking basically the same thing. And the one thing he was saying is we need to be prepared for tomorrow, whether it's 10 days from now or 10 weeks from now.
Right.
And also I have to know where I can get everything I need for tomorrow. Because we all know when the lights turn on, the world that we knew 6 months ago is not going to be there. And the way that we did business 6 months ago isn't going to be there. So I'm hoping that out of all of this, the coaches, as we communicate more and more, and the families start to realize that the most important thing is the student athlete, is our family. It may not be the box score. It may not be batting 380. But the way that we do business is now cultural instead of just reactional.
Right.
Because a lot of people, as we know in this business, it's, I want it now. I want it now. Well, why couldn't you do it now? And they're yelling over a box of balls that are like, you asked me last night for this. Like, let's all relax for a second. So it's making people, from my perspective, a lot nicer. Because obviously Andy and I live in the same area, so as you're walking, people are just saying hi now instead of just having their earbuds in. And,
yes, absolutely.
And running down the street. It's like, oh, okay. Like, I'm getting to know my neighbors more than I ever did.
We're not in a rush. We're not rushing through life because there's nothing to rush to.
I mean, frankly, you and I, with our schedules, we would have never been able to sit down like this.
Never.
6 months ago.
And again, it's the last thing I think that this has done is it makes you appreciate. I have people at the gym that are calling me up like, all that complaint about having to go to the gym, I wish I had a gym. Mm-hmm. These kids that probably were complaining about having to run laps for whatever sport, I'm sure they wouldn't mind running laps now. And it teaches us that things can be taken from us like that. Mm-hmm. The poor seniors can't compete their senior year. Some of the seniors that can't graduate, nobody ever saw that coming. And so we need to appreciate everything that we have when we have it.
Absolutely. Well, Lucio, thank you for joining us, and thank you everyone at home. Again, this is Inland Empire Coaches Sports Talk, brought to you by BSN Sports. Thank you. Have a good night.